Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Monday, May 30th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. With its large military presence, few places are more fitting for Memorial Day than San Diego. The USS Midway pays tribute to the military year-round, but today is about those killed in service. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado was there.
Memorial Day atop the USS Midway is special. Dozens gathered on the aircraft carrier turned museum to honor the men and women who gave their lives for their country. Vice Admiral Steve Kaler says freedom is fragile.
Today we commemorate more than 1.2 million men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Today we remember that freedom isn't free.
Mayor Todd Gloria paid a special tribute to Captain Jennifer Moreno, a native San Diegan. She was an Army nurse who served and died in Afghanistan in 2013, and the first woman to have a VA medical center named after her.
She represents the very best of our community.
Gloria, Kaler, and a young Girl Scout participated in the traditional wreath ceremony. The silence was interrupted by a man who shouted the lyrics of a famous anti-war song. The ceremony ended with a missing man formation flyover. And the playing of taps, the song that plays at the funerals of the fallen, a song that many, like Captain Jacob Richard Morgan, have heard so many times they lost count.
Captain Morgan here has gone the extra mile by being here in his 90s on his birthday. Still fitting in his uniform, everybody. Do you see this?
Morgan is a veteran who turned 96 years old on this Memorial Day. He served in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. To him, Memorial Day means
losing friends, especially my best buddy in Korea, and a lot of other, brave people who sacrificed and gave it all.
Outside of the USS Midway, another tribute was held to honor the fallen. Their names were read out loud and a somber bell tolled after each one.
Raymond L. Henry, 21 years old.
By reading the names, I think that's probably the greatest tribute we can do. That way they are not forgotten and they're recognized for what they've done, and they can serve as an example to the rest of the country. This is what it's all about.
Hunter Lopez, 22 years old, August 26, 2021, from Indio, California, United States Marine Corps, Corporal, Afghanistan.
Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
And this Memorial Day is especially hard for those who recently lost a loved one in the military, and that includes the families of Camp Pendleton Marines who were killed in Afghanistan in the war's final days. A bit later, we'll hear from one of those families about their healing process. Memorial Day is typically the start of the summer travel season. With pandemic restrictions easing, millions are opting to get away. KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen takes a look at the holiday crowds in San Diego.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of delays.
A combination of bad weather, passenger volume, and staffing shortage have caused thousands of flight delays and cancellations this holiday season. San Diego resident David Park's flight home was delayed for more than an hour. He says it was a big topic of conversation among travelers.
I had just talked to a passenger on the airplane actually about the same thing happening to her on her way trying to get here from Arkansas, how her flight was delayed more than 4 hours. So she just had to book another flight.
San Diego International Airport spokesperson Sabrina Lopiccolo says passenger traffic is the highest it's been since the pandemic, but it's still down 13% from 2019, which was a peak year.
there's definitely more people traveling. And again, we do anticipate more people traveling over the holiday weekend and through the summers.
She says travelers should pack plenty of patience, double-check with their flights, and allow for extra time because of construction at Terminal 1. But the airport was not the only place that was crowded this weekend.
With Memorial Day being the unofficial start to summer and perfect San Diego weather, the beaches are, of course, packed.
Shirley Jordan is among those enjoying the weather and barbecuing with her family at Mission Beach. She says this picnic table is her go-to spot every year.
I'm grateful to be here today. I'm grateful to be able to speak and tell everybody how great the weather is, San Diego, and to come on out.
Lifeguard says they are seeing an uptick in crowds and boat traffic compared to last Memorial Day. With schools about to be out for the summer, they are expecting a spike in the numbers of people at local beaches.
Right now we're just seeing big crowds on weekends, and then once school gets out, you'll see everyone come out all 7 days a week.
Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
And as those holiday weekend road trips come to an end, San Diegans are paying more than ever to fill up. Gas prices are on the move again, hitting a record $6.07 per gallon for regular. That's according to AAA, which says this is the third straight day for a new record average price. So where is this going? John Lawrence has more on the outlook for drivers during the summer travel season.
I haven't seen these type of prices in all my life.
The temperature won't be the only thing going up this summer.
As we progress beyond Memorial Day, I now peg our odds at $5 a gallon gasoline nationwide at 60%, so that could be coming.
As of Monday, the national average for a gallon of gas was $4.60, according to GasBuddy.com, just as Americans head into the summer driving season.
I won't do quick trips down to Florida to see family and stuff in the car, and I'll probably limit some of my plane travel just until everything drops back down.
The cost of gas surged about 30% since Russia attacked Ukraine in late February, and the U.S. is feeling the pinch.
Energy costs are way too high. The president has taken some steps to ease that by the release of our reserves. We recognize the international circumstances of war in Ukraine, and the energy prices are not determined here in the United States, but we need to do more about it.
Gas Buddy says demand usually starts to fall in August, which could help the cost of gas to drop. However, severe weather in the Atlantic could play spoiler.
The above average hurricane forecast, that is a high risk that we could see prices remaining elevated basically through Labor Day.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Pope Francis appointed San Diego Bishop Robert McElroy to the College of Cardinals. KPBS reporter Gustavo Solis tells us why this first for San Diego is so noteworthy for local Catholics.
Let's begin with the basics. What is a cardinal? Kevin Eckery is spokesperson for the Roman Catholic Diocese of San Diego. He says cardinals advise the Pope and, when the time comes, select the new one.
The main thing everybody hears about is when they gather in a conclave, which is what it's called to elect a new Pope. But they have continuing responsibilities as well, just to help make sure that the Pope isn't sitting isolated in Vatican City.
Traditionally, archbishops from big cities like New York, LA, Chicago, or San Francisco are appointed cardinals. But Eckery says that Pope Francis likes to shake things up.
The Pope is very conscious of the fact he's living in a bubble. And when you live in a bubble, everybody tells you what they think you want to hear. And I think what's been very, very clear with this Pope is he doesn't want to just be told what he wants to hear. He wants to be told the truth.
Eckery says that Bishop McElroy is a kind and smart man, one with 2 degrees from Harvard and a doctorate from Stanford. McElroy is considered a progressive among Catholics, but Eckery says that he's more concerned with faith than politics.
For him, it's all about what is Catholic teaching? What are we about as a church? And he doesn't get involved in the, what would Democrats do? What would Republicans do? For him, the church is not a political party.
McElroy has adopted a welcoming approach towards gay Catholics. He's also spoken out against excluding Catholic politicians from participating in certain sacraments. The Archbishop of San Francisco recently said he would no longer allow U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to receive communion because of her stance on abortion. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
As we remember fallen soldiers this Memorial Day, families in Uvalde, Texas are mourning their own loss. 21 families are spending their holiday planning funerals, and as Gloria Pazmino reports, the Department of Justice is now launching an investigation into the police response.
Memorial prayer services will be held Monday for 2 of the 19 children and 2 teachers killed in America's worst school shooting in nearly a decade.
She was the perfect daughter to me.
10-year-old Amerie Jo Garza is remembered as a sweet, creative child. Maite Juliana Rodriguez's mother wrote on Facebook that her daughter was sweet, charismatic, loving, caring, loyal, and free. Less than a week after the shooting, questions remain about the timeliness of law enforcement's response.
Somehow, some way, someone needs to answer for, what was done.
The U.S. Department of Justice announced Sunday it will conduct an inquiry into the circumstances surrounding the shooting. Last week, Texas officials confirmed 911 calls from inside the school spanned nearly 50 minutes. Newly released video taken from the outside of the school obtained by ABC News includes what appears to be dispatch audio telling officers on scene a child is calling 911 from inside a classroom.
You have a child online. Child is advising he is in the room full of victims at this moment.
In the meantime, survivors and their parents are grappling with the trauma left behind.
I was hiding under a table next to the wall.
It was terrifying. It was one of the worst experiences ever.
Gloria Pazmino, KPBS News.
Today marks the 2nd anniversary of a social justice protest in La Mesa that later turned into rioting and looting in the city's downtown. Jacob Ayer spoke with members of that community on what it means to reflect on the events of that day.
On the afternoon of May 30th, 2020, people gathered in La Mesa to peacefully protest a police officer's controversial arrest of a black man at a trolley stop earlier that week. After night fell, rioting and looting broke out in the city's main business district. Pink Rose Cafe owner Nadia Zamora says hers was one of many La Mesa businesses that was damaged.
I mean, that night of the riots, we came down here to get some of the equipment out, and we were faced with rioters and looters that were literally snatching our things out of our hands. And so just seeing, it looked like a scene out of a war zone.
While much of La Mesa's downtown is fixed up from the damages sustained, there are still reminders of what happened that night. Most obvious is the rebuilding of Union and Chase Banks, which were largely destroyed. Among the most hard-hit businesses was the Play It Again Sports in the La Mesa Springs Shopping Center. Staff member Justin Wesley says it took his store about 6 to 7 months to get up and running again.
They had to take everything out of the store. The store was flooded. Inventory, 50% of it was lost. The community came in, helped out, cleared it up, and that's when they started putting everything back together.
Zamora says the Pink Rose Cafe not only survived, but is now thriving. And she says the community has come together in ways it didn't before.
And being the only Latina business owned here on this block, I'm very proud to say that I feel very embraced by all of the merchants. I feel like we brought that awareness was brought on to La Mesa that was probably needed. Not saying that I justify anything with what happened, but it was an opportunity for the community to grow.
Zamora went on to say that the 2-year anniversary is a reminder of how the La Mesa residents supported one another and have healed together. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
It's been less than a year since 13 American service members were killed in Kabul during the final days of the U.S. evacuation from Afghanistan. As the country commemorates Memorial Day, KPBS's Steve Walsh talks to the mother of one of the Marines who died on that day.
Next week I'll change the flowers out to the red, white, and blue. They just didn't have blue right now.
A week before Memorial Day, I met with Cheryl Rex at Forest Lawn Cemetery in Orange County. We stand at the grave of her son, Lance Corporal Dylan Morella, 20 years old when he died. I asked her what she was doing last Memorial Day.
Memorial Day is usually my birthday or my birthday weekend, so it's going to be even harder every year, not only for what we represent for Memorial Day, but you can't really celebrate after something like this.
She comes to her son's gravesite 5 to 6 times a week, decorating the grave to fit the holiday. His marker is covered with angels, Marine flags, and red, white, and blue streamers for Memorial Day.
Hour-wise, I have no idea. Sometimes I could sit here for 6 hours, 8 hours. It just depends. That's all I have left. I sit with him and talk with him.
Morella was killed on August 26th of last year, along with 12 other U.S. troops. Most were Marines from the 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines stationed at Camp Pendleton. Their unit arrived 11 days earlier from Jordan, one of several rushed to Kabul in the last days of the American presence in Afghanistan.
The things that they saw out there, the kids, the babies, the women, even grown men coming running to them, asking for their help and to save them.
They were guarding the entrance to the airport as thousands of Afghans pressed their way into the Abbey Gate entrance, hoping to get on the last American flights out of Kabul. An ISIS-K bomb exploded, killing the service members and at least 170 Afghans.
I pretty much knew that morning. I woke up to the alert on my phone that there had been an explosion in Afghanistan, and that whole day was just horrible, waiting, not knowing.
3 of the Marines were from Southern California. People lined the streets as their caskets arrived for funerals in September.
My whole life is completely different. I know I'll never be the same person I was.
Dylan wanted to be a Marine nearly all of his young life. He joined right out of high school.
Losing a child is something that nobody could ever, and the pain itself is something that I can't even explain.
Her mother, Dylan's grandmother, Clarinda Matsuoka, says they've become even closer over the last year.
She cries a lot more.
I didn't cry before.
It's hard to say because she's always been a very strong mom. Our whole family is pretty strong.
Marines from her son's unit visit regularly from Pendleton. The ones who don't come to the house leave coins at the gravesite. Dimes mean they served together. Quarters mean they were with Dylan in Kabul. She has a jar filled with coins that she keeps in her room.
Your family is your best support. The Marines come up. They've been a big support to myself, my other children, and my family. That's basically it. I don't really go out in public much right now. Family is everything to us.
Rex's oldest son, Brandon, told her in January that at 24, he was joining the Marines. He's scheduled to graduate boot camp in San Diego, roughly 1 year after his brother died in Kabul. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
9/11 began a 20-year war that cost the lives of thousands of American service members, many of whom were stationed locally. A new book pays tribute to some of those heroes. Camp Pendleton Marines. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne spoke to the author.
Images of the last American service member to depart Afghanistan marked the end of America's longest war. But the exit from Afghanistan's Kabul airport was frantic and cost the lives of 13 service members in a suicide bomb attack. 10 of them were based at Camp Pendleton, 9 Marines and 1 sailor.
I was putting the finishing touches on the book last August when we realized that our troops from Camp Pendleton were involved in securing the airport in Kabul, Afghanistan. And unfortunately, sadly, the bulk of those troops were based right here at Camp Pendleton. And so within hours, there were people bringing flowers and tributes and memorials to the front gate of Camp Pendleton, and I had to include that in the book.
Fallbrook resident Amy Forsyth is the author of Heroes Live Here, a tribute to Camp Pendleton Marines since 9/11. Forsyth is a Marine Corps veteran and served 3 deployments to Afghanistan and 2 combat tours in Iraq. She says her book showcases the service and sacrifice many Marines based out of Camp Pendleton paid since 9/11.
Through my research, I realized that more troops based at Camp Pendleton were casualties of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan than any other one concentrated place, base, or station in America. And so through the 20 years, there was always a constant rotation. Somebody was always deployed. Some unit was always deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan throughout the 20 years.
Her book features stories, artwork, and photos from Camp Pendleton Marines' involvement in Afghanistan and Iraq. Forsyth says she hopes the book will bring comfort and closure to the families who lost a loved one in the war.
Different memorials that have been erected over the past 20 years. And I thought, for people who don't have access to the base and aren't allowed to come on, that this is our way of showing them just how much we honor and appreciate the service of those Marines who have gone before us.
The book is available now and can be found on heroeslivehere.com. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
We have a nice warming trend in the days to come here across Southern California, so that's what we have to look forward to. It's likely going to stay a little bit cool and breezy right along the coast, and there is no rain in sight in the forecast here. As we look ahead to tonight, temperatures for you Monday night drop off into the mid-50s in Oceanside, mid-40s out towards Ramona, 60s into Borrego Springs, 54 tonight in Mount Laguna. And then your Tuesday, again, you'll notice the cool ocean breezes right along the coast, but across the interior parts of Southern California, the heat continues here and will be warming up in the days to come. Temperatures for your Tuesday in Oceanside, 71 degrees, upper 60s in San Diego, right around 80 in El Cajon and Ramona, mid-90s on the way for Borrego Springs, and we'll be heating up in the deserts, getting back into the triple digits, likely later in the week. So Wednesday, looking like another warm day here. Temperatures across most of the entirety of the Southwest are going to be warming up here over the next couple of days. So that's some good news to look forward to if you're a fan of the warmth. But again, no rain here in the forecast. Near the coast, the temperatures look to stay in the low 70s here. Not a whole lot of change in the forecast. Could see a little bit more increase in cloud cover as we head towards next weekend. Further inland, temperatures going from the upper 70s on Tuesday up into the low 80s Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Could see a cool down next weekend back into the low 70s, likely with the next wave pushing southward out of the northwest. In the mountains, temperatures warming from the mid-60s up into the 70s for Wednesday and Thursday, upper 60s Friday, and then a bigger cool down with some winds picking up on Saturday, back into the low 60s by next Saturday. And in the deserts, I mentioned temperatures going from the mid-90s into the triple digits. We look to hold on to those until Friday, and then Saturday a drop back down into the 90s. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jessica Pash.
A happy reunion this holiday weekend for a Ukrainian refugee and her pet Pomeranian, both getting used to a new life here in San Diego. So much joy. The dog's name is Persea, and she had to spend 4 weeks in quarantine at the San Diego Humane Society. Her owner was given regular updates and was finally given the green light to pick her up on Sunday.
She's near. I see her. She's in a good shape. She looks very well, and she's healthy. And that is very important for me.
What a great reunion. The family arrived in Mexico in April after being forced to leave their home in Ukraine. The Humane Society says it's working with the CDC to make sure refugees can bring their pets with them to the U.S. Even after a major disaster, the attention eventually fades and the support dries up. A family living in Northern California is experiencing that after losing everything in last year's Caldor fire. Brittany Hope shows us the major gift they just received to help their recovery.
I lived up in Grizzly Flat, and then the fire came and just wiped out everything. And
now This is the Hatch family's reality.
Bathroom. Don't really have a bathroom. And showering. It's not so easy and it's not hot.
Living in tents for more than 6 months.
Time flies when you're just busy. You know, fighting the weather most of the time and trying to cook and shower up and get ready for school the next day and homework.
Winter especially challenging for this single father and his 4 children.
I'm just trying to keep going forward so I can get all 4 of them back with me full time in the house and not dealing with this, but I think they stay more positive than me, and when I start breaking down there, they pick me up.
His 17-year-old daughter, proof.
And it really did break us all because now we're all kind of lost. But we still have each other no matter what.
Lost, but now found.
I actually didn't tell you the truth because we got your trailer, and it's coming up right now.
Really? Are you serious?
It's crazy.
A safe place to call home.
Group like this.
Thanks to emergencyrv.org, a group that helps wildfire victims by giving them RVs. They worked with the California Fire Foundation to make this happen.
Teacher reached out to us and said, I have an amazing student. She's a really smart kid, straight A's. She lost her home in the Caldor fire. And despite that, she's still a straight A student. She walks down the street to find a Wi-Fi hotspot to do her homework.
With the flip of a switch, this family can start over.
Oh my God! Dad, come look at
Laughter begins again.
They lost everything. They have nothing but each other. What I learned today was having each other is really pretty amazing.
Good things are going to happen to you because of this. It's karma.
And that was Brittany Hope reporting. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.